Hello, everybody. My name is Matt Kern. I'm here with Patty Mohler. How are you doing today, Patty?
Hey, Matt, great. How are you?
This is good. This is going to be a full podcast, and we got a lot to cover. Um,
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm so glad you're here. Patty and I always have so much fun when we talk, and we tend to talk a lot. So, Patty, let's go ahead and just jump right in. Let's talk about your
Yeah.
new website, and that's going to relate to your new book, and that's going to relate to your new retreat. So let's just jump right into your website and talk a little
Ah,
bit about that.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. So the new website just launched this week. It's called renewrestoreretreat.com. So it's a new adventure for me. As a counselor, I've always owned Patty Mohler Counseling, and it's been there. But in the last several years, I've really wanted to expand that. And to me, this whole sense of renew and restore is such a positive, uplifting place for me, whether it's women or men or couples. So this new idea of mine, renew and restore, kind of got launched. And I think it's always been my dream to be able to tell my story in a positive, uplifting way if it motivates people to try to move forward. So I'm always thinking about transitions and how we move through those transitions. So Renew, Restore, Retreat is absolutely there to talk about my keynote speaking, but it also drives people to the retreat that I'm taking and doing in October of 2020. And I'm so super excited about
Yeah.
this adventure. Yeah.
That's really, really cool. So we've talked a lot about this in our past podcasts or the past things that we've done together. It's just that, people go through transitions in life,
Yeah.
some very positive, sometimes they're not positive, but we can all transition through it if you do
Yeah.
it in the right way. So talk a little bit about that. Like why renew, restore? Why, being able to take people from one place to another. And as a counselor, why that is important.
Yeah, Matt, I think that brings into what my story is. I went to my first retreat in 2016, and I was just in a place where I'd taken myself to grad school. I'd been in my current position at a rehab center full time, trying to get the private practice off the ground. And I really just realized I had never taken time to sit back and look at everything I'd been through. That included the divorce, that included going to grad school starting at the age of 48. That's a huge transition. And so when I took myself, I went to Mexico. And when I went to Mexico, I actually handed them my iPad and my cell phone as I checked in and said, do not let me have these back.
Yeah.
And so I had given my son where I was and a neighbor where I was if there was some calamity I needed to deal with back at home. And other than that, I shut it off, turned it down. I was there on a yoga retreat, wasn't really going to do the yoga. It was just a safe way for a single woman to go, right?
Yeah.
So I went to my first yoga class, and then I was like, oh my God, that was like so invigorating, and I feel so good. And I ended up doing like 4 hours a day.
Yeah.
And when I came back, people were like, where have you been? What have you done? Who did you meet? And they were like, you had sex. And I'm honest about that. And I'm like, no, I'd be happy to tell you that if I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
That was my first adventure of being renewed and restored.
Yeah.
I took 4 books with me, Matt, and did not open one.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I just really got in touch with things that I was not happy about, things that I was okay about. Where did I want my life to go? I really let myself just be. And Kenneth and Dennis Lang were running retreat. One of Kathy's favorite lines is, become a human being, not a human doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so to me, when she said that first day, I was like, I just need to be here.
Yeah. Connected. Yeah.
Yeah. So then my second adventure with that was when we turned 60, a group of girlfriends that I had known since I was 13 years old. Think of that, 13 years
Yeah.
old.
Yeah.
We decided to go hiking in Utah.
Oh, wow.
And I tell you what, to sit down with 4 women who have had different experiences, live in different places in the world, all of our experiences and all of our love came together, and we held space for one another for us to tell our stories.
Yes.
We weren't there to fix it. We weren't there to judge it. So when I left there again was this sense that I was renewed and restored.
Yeah.
And so it became this dream of mine to put on a retreat for women that they could come and walk away with that same sense, to
Yeah.
be back in nature, whether it's Utah mountains, whether it's the beach. This one's going to be up in Jekyll Island in Georgia,
Yeah.
the most phenomenal piece of
Oh yeah.
property I've
Beautiful,
seen.
beautiful
Oh
place.
my gosh.
Yeah.
So just come and surround yourself with other women that want to support, uplift, and give you space to be.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it doesn't matter that I don't agree with what you're thinking or your thoughts, but I'm going to hold space for you to have that.
Yeah.
Matt, my whole thing is we don't have the old, so I've told you this before, we don't have the old sewing circles
Yeah.
where women come and put the quilts down and you've got all those generations
Yeah.
and the stories are told.
That's right.
The kids learn through osmosis and hearing these stories about how life is and what it is for a woman. Women don't understand until you're going through the transition of what it's like.
Yeah.
We don't know what it's like to go through a divorce until you go through it. Empty nest syndrome is huge for women. What do we do now that we've raised children, been with husbands, and now what?
Yeah.
So I want women to have a space where they can come and explore what their purpose is
Yeah.
beyond husbands and work and children and grandchildren. I want to create a space where they can just be,
Yeah.
because I've seen that happen for me and how invigorating that is.
Well, so that's why I love talking to you, is because we speak the same thing. And I believe
Yeah.
we all have a story. Every single one of
Yep.
us has a story. And what's so important is that we have that story, but our stories are all interconnected and we can
Yeah.
all learn from each other's story. And we can all learn from the journey that each of us have gone through. One of the things you just said that is, my wife and I, my daughter just turned we have 3 kids. We've talked about
Yeah.
a son who's going through job transition stuff right now and
Yep.
work-life balance. We've talked about that. Another in college who's just doing her thing. But we just had Lainey turn 16. And when Lainey turned 16, well, Tisha doesn't drive her to school anymore. That was their
Right.
time. That was their time. And so
Yeah.
it's so interesting to me that you said that, because it's that's not the empty nest yet, but it's starting
But
that.
you're thinking about it.
It's starting the transition, and my wife is thinking about it and all that. And so, yeah, I just love how people go through different life transitions. But even with men, and I do a lot, more work with men, but even with the men, there's so many connections,
Yep.
right? Of, you're not walking your journey alone,
No.
walking it with other people, and you can share and learn from other people.
Yeah. Matt, I got on a plane when my son was, I got a phone call when my mother was in her later stages of life, and it was from my brother, who my mom was living in his home, and he was the primary caretaker. And he was just putting his hands up and saying, need help, so obviously I'm going to hop on a plane. It happened to be the same day that I was supposed to be taking my son to college,
Oh, wow.
and I had to make a decision. And so it was decided that my son could go to college on his own. It was fine. I sobbed on that airplane
Yeah.
because it was like I get teary right now.
Yeah.
I was losing the 2 people I loved the most.
Yeah.
My son launching, and I can't be there. And I'm headed to say goodbye and take care of my mother in
Oh,
her last few
yeah.
weeks, right? That's a huge transition that if we can't talk about that, and if you're going through that and go, wow, you went through that, what was it like? Tell me about it. Those are 2 huge moments
Yes.
in one.
Yeah.
And we need that space. For men, it's just the same. I mean, you have
It's,
a phenomenal connection with your kids, and father relationships are so tremendous.
yeah.
And I think you guys get sometimes discounted that you don't go through some, because you guys maybe don't openly emote as much as women do.
Yeah.
But you still need a space to be able to talk about
Yeah.
this.
You absolutely do need a space, and men don't think they can share. They don't want to share and don't want to come out and share. And so I do think that is one thing that is unique, that you just have to have a space to share. You have to have somewhere or some way to talk, a way to bond,
Well,
wherever that.
you and I've talked about this too. As a man, you guys have been told not to emote.
Yeah, that's
You
right.
go back to you go back to your son, you hit that, or you strike out.
Yeah.
And so there's tears when you're 9 years old or 8 years
Yeah.
old. I don't know,
Right.
all that kind of, and we go, don't cry, it's fine.
Yeah.
Well, when you're 9 years old and striking out's a really big
Yeah.
deal. It's okay to
It
cry.
is. It is.
It's a human
Day,
emotion.
to this day, I remember. I honestly remember when I was 8 years old. I wasn't 9 yet, but I was 8, and I struck out, and it was the last out of the game. And I
Oh,
remember that.
yes.
And I like literally that. I remember striking out being in the last out of the, and what does that really mean in the real scheme of life? I struck out into the game. Okay, it doesn't mean
Yeah.
right.
I'll give you a great story.
Yeah,
Kind of switching gears just
yeah,
a bit about the same thing. So I do an awful lot of work in my practice about schemas, the way we view the world, and they're usually formed by time we're little. And I worked with one gentleman who was over in the drug rehab center, and I was going through use that whole peeling back an onion metaphor, and
yeah,
trying to
yeah,
analogy to try to get people to understand. And so we were doing this class, it's well into it, and the gentleman just starts crying. And he said, I have my aha moment. And I was like, okay. And he is crying.
yeah,
And I said, what is it? And this man, just a little backstory, was in because of failure
yeah,
and perfectionism. That's part of the drug issue for him.
yeah, yeah. Of course.
And so when I asked him why he was crying, he said, I'll never forget, I was 8 years old
Yeah,
and I hit a home run. And he said, and there goes first and second and third. And he said he came around home plate and he came back. And his dad got about that far in his face. And he looked at his nose to nose and said, if you had kept your eye on it a few minutes longer, a few seconds longer, you would have hit it further.
that's crazy. Yeah.
Now, I know that a no hitter is the epitome. Hitting a home run is the epitome.
Oh,
It's the
yeah,
best.
it's the best. That's right.
That set up that young boy for realizing that no matter what he did, it was never going to be good
Yeah,
enough. Isn't that crazy?
it
I
is.
mean, that's how that stuff gets started. And that's why I love the business
Yeah,
that I'm in and connecting those dots.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, took us on
I
that
only
side
hit.
venture.
I only hit. I played through college. I played college baseball. I only hit 4 home runs my whole life. So it is.
Listen to the words you said. I only hit.
But
No, you
that,
hit four home
yeah, but
runs.
that's my thing. That those 4 home runs.
Isn't that? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, funny.
huge to me. Um, okay, let's talk about next the book.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
so yeah, let's talk about because we're connecting the dots. Let's get to the
Yeah,
book.
appreciate that. So the book is coming out in January, and now that I've said that live and on air, I guess it's going to really have to
It
happen,
has
right?
to happen now. There
Um,
will be a link to in the podcast and in the
Yeah,
blog.
so
The book.
super excited. The book is called Renew and Restore: How to Communicate, Connect, and Celebrate Your Best Self. And I really take my stories as the one I've told you, and colleagues' stories or friends' stories, and I kind of intertwine it on how do we connect to your best self? How do we communicate to be our best selves? Yes, we have all gone through stuff. That's called life.
Yes.
And you said it earlier, sometimes we get it through it easier and sometimes it's rougher. And I use the river analogy the entire way through the book. It seems connected to me. I was born in Reno, Nevada, and the Truckee River is something I grew up and around and in.
Yeah.
So I use that a lot because I think we get stuck in whirlpools. I think we get stuck and just kind of swirl and swirl like behind a river, and we just got to figure out a way to to flow around that
Yeah.
boulder. So the book just really, I'm not going to call it a self-help book. It is not that. It
Yeah.
is part of my journey, but it's also how do we make these transformations so that we can be our best selves and not try to be somebody else.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's not, sometimes these self-help books come from a place of positive,
Yeah.
but it means there's something wrong with you that you have to be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I want to come at this from the standpoint that you are just fine the way you are.
Yeah. Could not agree with you more.
Yeah. So, yeah, we all have good parts of us and we all have bad parts of us. Sometimes I've been the river that flows freely, and sometimes I've been the boulder. Not going anywhere, I'm stuck and I'm hard and I'm rigid. And how do we figure out to transform that? How do we learn about having boundaries? To me, the riverbank is the boundary.
Yeah.
Sometimes it keeps the water right contained and we're in a good place. Other times there's a flood and it's everywhere and it's messy.
Have you ever seen that meme? There's a meme that's out there, and it's really wonderful, and it shows your plan, your life plan,
Yes.
a straight line.
Yeah.
And then it
I
shows
have
God.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
God, and it's all over the place.
If you want me to, I could reach right behind. I keep it all the time.
Really, that's awesome. But that's what that reminds me of, the river. That what you're talking about. I mean, it's when you're talking about what we think our plan should be as a straight line, and everything's going to be perfect, and it's going to be a upward slope, and everything's going to be great. But that's not reality. That's not God's plan. That's not how it really works. It's all over the place.
And sometimes it's okay to be stuck behind a boulder.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's okay to be just swirling and swirling and swirling until something nudges you or you get a new vision. Yes. Right? So I love that. I love the fact that it's, sometimes we're in the Whitewater Rapids, and I'm one who loves to go on the Deschutes River, on the Truckee River. I love to be in a kayak out on the Whitewater.
Yeah.
But then that's also life, because right after the really rough, tough water, it's smooth.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful.
Analogy. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you had to work hard to get through that whitewater. You had to work. And, you had to, really maneuver yourself, and you had to work, and you had to, really do everything you could to get through. And then when you get through, it's kind of like,
and sometimes you had to flip.
Yeah. That's true.
I had a great one, Matt, when I took my son's gift for high school was for a 5-day river raft trip on the Deschutes River. And I wanted him to see, sorry, I'm a West Coast girl. I wanted him to see real whitewater, not stuff on the East Coast. Sorry, East Coast. So we went out there, and there was a little kayak that we could get on, and he was on it most of the time. And then it was kind of, the guys looked at me, I'm the only gal. And they were like, hey, it's your turn. And I'm like, fine. So they are up on the big boats way ahead. And they had taught us, if you come across a boulder, you turn your boat sideways and you hit and you'll spin off.
Yeah.
Right? Again, life.
Yeah.
And so I see this boulder. It's probably the size of this room, by the way. It's not a boulder. It is this mountain. And I'm like, I got this. And I'm paddling. Oh, God, didn't feel the current underneath me, right? So the current grabs me, and I'm like, I just need to turn sideways, and I'm going to hit this thing and bounce off. Matt, I can't. With everything I've got, I can't turn.
Yeah.
And my nose is going right into the rock.
Yeah.
And I do, and I flip. And there are oars one way, there's life preservers another way, the kayak's another way, I'm the other way. And the guy behind me had all the rafts with the food and stuff.
Yeah. He's
laughing his tail off. I came up, finally got the kayak, trying to get back in. I had one question, and he's like, I said, I just have one. He goes, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I just have one question. Did he see that? I just didn't want my son to see that. I had totally bailed.
Yeah.
By the time we got to lunch, I was pretty dry.
Yeah.
And the guy was like, you're safe with me. So about halfway through lunch, I was like, I have to confess, I totally flipped. And my son was like, I so wish I had seen that. But but that's life. Sometimes you flip.
It is life. Sometimes you flip. Sometimes you flip, and then you gotta turn yourself, back upright and go.
Yep.
I absolutely love that analogy.
And have people around you.
Oh,
the guy, let's take that one further. I hadn't even thought of this until you and I were just talking. The guy behind me was part of my team, right?
Yeah.
He went and got the other oar.
Yeah.
He went further downstream in case I couldn't, because I was struggling getting back in the boat.
Yeah.
So he's, have a team.
So let's take it back one step further.
Okay, let's do it.
Or
that's what you and I do.
I guess you could say, let's say further or forward, or all three. So we're going to talk about, we're talking about the book. and the retreat. But that's what you're doing. You know, by your doing your book and doing your retreat, you're building that team
Yes.
of life. You're
Yeah.
building a team of life. You're building that sewing circle. You're building that bringing women together where
I'm convening
that
my community, Matt.
exactly.
Well, you know what, and
Exactly.
that is, I mean, you and I talked about you wanting to do a book at some point, and oh my God, I have had to learn. You have to throw it all out. You got to count on the team.
Yeah.
I think I'm in the 5th or 6th edit right now. We're right at the tail. I sent it to somebody else this week, and got it back. And you have to be willing to hear somebody else's, voice, and you have to be able to be willing to bring others into your world, to let them lift you up, to call you out on things that are not
Yeah.
good. If you don't have people to call you out in your world and say, you need to step back, step down,
Yeah.
how can I help? We're just lost. It's not a comfortable place. We need those people. We need that team to say, this is how we can help.
Well, two things. We get so bore-sided in life,
Mhm.
but we can only focus on what's right in front of us.
Yeah.
And so we get that. And that, I've been helping my son go through some of that with his transition.
Yes.
Talked about in that other, which is really good. It's gone really good. Thank you to you for our talk, because it's been able to help me talk to him about transitioning from the one job. But the second part is that leads you to sometimes maybe feeling like I'm a failure.
Yeah.
I'm a failure. And you're not. You're not.
No.
You're not a failure, because life is up and down and it's all over the place. And sometimes people get in a rut and they just feel like, well, I've failed, I'm a failure.
Right.
Not a failure, you know.
No.
Yeah.
Not at all. There is no, we've got to relook at that. And I think that's where that failure stuff gets, started, is when we're little and we see an occasion like the baseball, which, he spent his entire life thinking that because of one little incident. I do a great, well, I think it's great. I take a piece of paper for some of my clients and I just write who I am on it, just 2 words, I am, and they're sent home to figure that out. And this came from working with actually a human trafficking victim when I was hired to help her do her story in court. And she just had one thing in her mind, that she was a prostitute. And I said, do you really think that's what you are? And she was like, yeah, absolutely. So in the middle of this, I just took a piece of paper, wrote I am, handed it to her and said, come back in a week. And she filled it out and she did all the right things that were on there, right? I mean, she had prostitute and sister and 5'4" and, 130 pounds and cousin and kind and sweet and addict. Like she did,
Yeah.
she did it. And so I asked her to read it to me versus just handing it to me. And she just sobbed. I don't think she had ever really kind of sat back. She just put them on paper, but didn't realize that she is far more. It was interesting when we got to court, that actually her attorneys were saying, what's the testimony going to be? And I was like, she won't tell me. And that's what I was hired for. And they
Yeah.
kept
Yeah.
going, but Patty, and I said,
Oh,
she keeps telling me she's got it. So when we got to court, Matt, it was interesting. The judge or the attorney asked her, what she thought. And she looked right at the guy sitting at the table and said, to you, I'm a prostitute. She turned her entire body to the judge and she said, to you, I am, and just started reading. There wasn't a dry eye in the house.
Mm.
And you just realize we are not just one piece. There's so many facets of all of us. And again, we just need
Yeah.
to give her space. She had space to figure out who she was as a whole being,
Wow.
not just one little segment.
Okay. So that brought tears to my eyes, right?
Oh.
And we're just on the call. I mean, but that is powerful. That
Mm-hmm.
with some of the people that I talk to, as a counselor, and some of the people that I talk to really on a weekly basis, it's understanding who you are and understanding that, okay, so you might be in a rough patch right now, but you're transitioning, but
Yeah.
there's a transition, right?
Yeah.
And there's a low. And I think one of the commonalities and that you've been able to do and you're going to be able to do with your book is just tell your story and
Yeah.
talk about, hey, you know what? I was down at this low spot, back to the the diagram that, the trajectory.
Yeah.
I was at this low spot, but now, I'm on the up spot. But
Yeah.
you won't go a little bit low at one point or one time, but
Yeah.
you just understanding who you are and how you can get out of that. And
Yeah.
that's powerful what you do. I absolutely love that. All right, let's talk about the retreat. So let's
Yeah.
specifically talk about the retreat and what it is and what you hope people will get out of it. So let's.
Yeah, I'm going to show up. I've got all these fabulous flyers that I'm so excited about. And the retreat is really called Renew and Restore, a weekend to explore and connect to your best self. And again, it's going to be October 22nd through 25th in 2020. It sounds like that's a far time away, but it'll be here in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be at Jekyll Island Club up in Jekyll Island, Georgia. And interesting how life takes you in ways too, because I've been looking for a place to have a retreat. And one of the things kind of fell through the cracks. So then I was sitting back last September going, holy moly, now what do I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it kind of led me to this place. And I looked at it online and I thought, wow, this is in my backyard and I don't really know that much about it.
Yeah.
So I got in the car, spoke to them obviously, and got in the car and went up there. Matt, I've never had my breath so taken away on this piece of property, built in the 1860s. And then the fabulous families, the Rockefellers and, you name all the big families, they had actually built, quote, cabins, their estates, cabins on the property. And then what happened is it was purchased by somebody and they had different use of it. Then the Georgia got in mind and decided that they would make it, preserve it and make it an actual piece of their state.
Yeah. Wow.
What am I trying to say? Their identification.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this piece of property is 52 acres of oaks with the big old grass coming down and water and places. We're going to do outdoor yoga on one of the lawns on Friday morning. We're going to have activities, and a lot of it is to do retreat.
Yeah.
So I want people to come. I want them to experience the yoga. Dennis and Kathy Lang will be leading that for me. On Saturday morning, I'm going to do a guided walking meditation on the beach. So we have some real fun things planned, but I also want it to be that place where you can just be.
Yeah.
If you want to hop on a bike and go tour Jekyll Island, which doesn't take all that long, but it's fun to do. Do you want to go get a massage? Do you just want to hang out by the pool?
Yeah.
So I can't get all the secrets out because I got some fun.
That's right. We've talked about some.
Yeah, but I think for me, Matt, I just want women to have that space where they can come and connect with other women and learn how to investigate yourself, be okay with yourself wherever you are in life right now.
Yeah.
So many of my friends and the clients that come in often tell me, I just feel lost. Yeah. I don't know who I am. And it's because we have given and given and given, and we haven't just stopped to sit back. Oh, yeah. And like I did, oh, gee, I want coconut water now. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. Okay, I guess I will. Yeah. Sometimes we don't have that permission to just do that. I think I'll go take a nap.
Yeah.
Okay, go take a nap.
That's right.
I want to sit and talk with 5 other women or 10 other women. I don't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
All of that is okay.
Yeah, it is okay.
Yeah.
It is okay.
Yeah. So I'm super excited. I am so excited. I hope people go check it out, sign up. People always keep telling me, oh, it's such a year away. I hope people sign up quickly. We don't have that many rooms to get out there. And the other thing is people forget how much energy and planning goes into getting a resort, and you can't call it off in the last minute. Right. So if you're interested, come on, sign up. People will be able to have a free hour or 2 with me if they want it. I'm just going to be present. This isn't about me. This is about me being there for you. Yeah. So if you want space with me, that's going to be part of the deal.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll definitely, this in the blog and the write-up, there's going to be the information about it. We'll attach all the information and link back over to the website. So everybody can go back over to Patty's website and see about and learn about what she's going to be doing, because I think it's great. I think you really have to bring people together. You got to bring people
Yeah.
together, and it's such a hard lesson. And especially when you're talking about moms. I will say this: moms give it up, and women, but moms, I'm going to specifically say
Yeah.
moms give it up.
Yeah.
Give it up. I think my kids are in such a good spot because of
Yeah.
my mother. But I also know and appreciate at the same time the sacrifices that she has made.
Yeah.
And, because you do give up a lot of yourself to raise a kid and do it in the right way and put them in the right spot. And so, again,
And I'm going to not ever underplay your role either,
yeah,
Matt, because a good dad and a
like
dad
you
that's
said,
there, so I appreciate that. But again, we need to give shout outs to the dads that show
yeah,
up every day, and you show up every day for other kids when you're with your coaching,
yeah,
and that's equally important. I just think women a little bit tend are torn in more different places, especially today. You and I have had this conversation
yeah,
so many times. Do I work? Do I stay at home? Do I give it my all with the kids? And that's so important. But I feel like I should have my hand over here. Oh Lord, my relationship with my husband and my spouse and my partner should be first. Oh wait, it's way down here. So I just think sometimes we all get so torn. And then when you've, like your wife, when we get to this place where you think this is ending, trust me, it's not. It's just a new journey. But when you're in it, you
yeah,
don't know it. The women I go talk to when they're in that senior year of school and are just devastated because everything is a last.
yeah,
This is the last banquet. This is the last football game. This is the last basketball game, cheerleading, whatever it is. Every moment in your senior year is a reminder that this is your last. And for the mom and for the parents, it's like, oh, now what? And we got to remember, that is our social life when you are where you are.
yeah,
You go to the football games and say hi, or the basketball games. That's who you hang with.
yeah, that's
And all
right.
of a sudden they're going to go that way. And you're like,
What now?
now what?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we need to support people like that.
It is. It is. And it's men and women. It's men and women. I could
Yeah.
talking about stories about, some of my friends who are men who are going through the same thing, but they just don't talk about it. So
Right.
give them space, give people a place to talk about it. And that's so
Are you
important.
telling me I need to do a men's retreat now?
I would agree. I would agree. The
Okay.
retreat would be good because I
Okay.
we could co-do it and
I love
do it
that.
together, because I think that, well, you need men's
Hey,
retreat.
we got it. We got a new way to go, Matt.
That's right. We got a new way to go. So this has been really cool because this is, again, you and I speak the same language. We really do. When we're talking about people, we both believe we have the same values, the same thoughts about helping people out.
Yeah.
You're taking action, and I'm learning from you, and I'm just so impressed with what you're doing. So
Thanks, Matt.
thank you for taking the time to come on. I hope people will watch this. I hope people will share this. Don't just
Yeah.
watch it, but share it with other people, because I promise you, everybody has a story and
Yep.
everybody is in a place, whatever that place might be. I call it the Facebook fantasy world. That's
Yeah.
it all looks perfect on the outside. Uh,
Absolutely.
People are in different spots. So take what you watched today. If you're interested, follow up. Go to Patty's website, sign up, but share it with your peers, share it with your
Yeah.
friends, because you never know what somebody's walking through at the time when they're walking through it, and this may be the godsend, going to Patty's retreat and getting Patty's book.
Yeah. Thanks.
And so I truly believe that you're making such a huge difference in people's lives, and I couldn't appreciate you more. This is not the last podcast, obviously. This is just one of many. So thank you for being on. I
Thank
appreciate
you,
it.
Matt. We always do have an awesome time, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah. So, okay. Everybody follow up on, we'll be posting this, and then you'll see all the links and everything about Patty's, everything that's going on. So thank you, Patty.
Thanks, Matt. Have a great day.
You too.